One building, one address, one roof. 30,000 people living underneath it. In the city of Hangzhou, China, there is a structure where residents wake up, exercise, eat breakfast, buy groceries, see a doctor, and get a haircut without ever stepping outside. Not once. Not even to check the weather. The internet saw it and called it dystopian immediately. Western commentators compared it to a prison. Journalists ran headlines designed to make you feel unsettled before you finish the first sentence. They called it a 50-year warning nobody listened to. They called it the future we should be terrified of. But here's the fact those headlines deliberately buried. This building has a waitlist. Rent starts at $220 a month in one of China's most expensive cities. And it was designed by the same architect who built Marina Bay Sands. This is Regent International in Hangzhou. And by the end of this video, you will understand why this building does not represent the worst of what cities are becoming. It may be the only honest answer anyone in the world has actually built yet. For decades, the Western world has operated on a single core assumption about how cities should function. Spread out, build low, zone for single-family neighborhoods, protect the skyline, preserve the character of existing communities at all costs. New York enforces height restrictions written when the automobile was still a novelty. London fights every major tower proposal with years of community opposition and planning reviews that outlast the governments that commission them. Toronto's zoning laws have roots in the 1950s and have barely moved since. The average one-bedroom apartment in New York City crossed $4,000 a month in 2024. London, Sydney, Toronto, and Singapore are all navigating housing crises that their own planning systems created and now cannot resolve. The Western answer to unaffordable housing has been remarkably consistent for over 20 years. Build more houses at the edge of cities, extend the commuter belt outward, zone for lower density at the periphery. It consumes productive farmland, it increases automobile dependency by design. It stretches average commute times by years across a working lifetime. And it consistently, repeatedly, demonstrably fails to bring prices down, because the supply generated never comes close to matching the scale of the demand. The math does not work. It has not worked for 2 decades, and Western cities keep returning to the same broken answer, while their residents spend 2/3 of their income on rent and are told this is simply the cost of living in a successful city. Most people have no idea this is already happening, that while Western planning committees have spent years debating zoning amendments that will not be implemented until 2030, China built a fundamentally different answer to the same question, and then filled it with 30,000 people. Then something shifted. In 2013, a developer in Hangzhou commissioned a 6-star luxury hotel. Not a budget property, not a mid-range business tower catering to corporate travelers. A genuine 6-star hotel, conceived for the kind of guests who expect marble lobbies, white glove concierge service, and rooms priced higher per night than most workers earn in an entire week. The architect commissioned for the project was Alicia Liu, the same woman responsible for Marina Bay Sands in Singapore, one of the most photographed, most recognizable, and most architecturally studied buildings in the world. This was a serious commission, a prestigious project, a budget built to match both. Then the economics changed. The hotel concept became financially unviable. Market conditions shifted, and the developers made a single decision that would produce one of the most unusual, most scrutinized, and most misunderstood residential buildings anywhere on Earth. The hotel rooms became apartments. The concierge floors became residential floors. The 6-star lobby, the marble, the light, the scale, stayed exactly as it was. Which is why today, a resident paying $220 a month walks through an entrance that belongs in a 5-star resort every single time they come home. That lobby is the clearest physical evidence that this building became something nobody originally planned. Regent International sits inside Qianjiang Century City, Hangzhou's central business district. Hangzhou is Alibaba's headquarters city. It ranks among the world's top 100 global financial centers. Its population exceeds 11 million people. Housing prices here are second only to Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen, the 3 most expensive cities in all of China. A windowless apartment in this building rents for $220 a month, A larger unit with a balcony rents for around $550 in the central business district, in one of Asia's most economically competitive cities. In the context of Hangzhou, those numbers are not just affordable. They are close to impossible to explain without understanding the scale of the building that produces them. But that's not the whole story, because the design itself, i.e., the feature that makes this building look so strange from the outside, was never an aesthetic decision. What the engineers discovered when they modeled the structural loads caught even the planning team off guard. The S-shape visible in every viral photograph was a deliberate, calculated engineering solution. A rectangular tower at this scale would generate catastrophic wind resistance, structural stress on the building itself, and violent wind tunnel effects at ground level that would make the surrounding streets nearly unusable. The S-curve distributes those forces across the structure far more efficiently. It also means more apartment units face outward, more residents receive natural light, more windows open to real views rather than internal shafts. Every single bend in that building is solving a specific physical problem that a simpler shape could not. The building that looks bizarre from the outside was engineered with extraordinary precision from within. It ranges between 36 and 39 floors depending on which section you measure. Its total internal area is 260,000 square meters. Its towers are connected by skywalks, internal bridges, and corridors built to handle thousands of people moving simultaneously in every direction. Residents consistently describe navigating it as moving through a small city, not a single building. That comparison, once you understand the scale, stops feeling like exaggeration very quickly. And here's where this building stops being a fascinating story and becomes something that has Western urban planners and housing developers quietly scrambling behind closed doors. Inside Regent International, there are gyms, swimming pools, supermarkets, restaurants, food courts, hair salons, nail salons, internet cafes, schools, and a medical clinic. Not nearby, not a short walk from the main entrance. Inside the building, accessible from the same elevator bank you use to reach your own apartment. A resident of Regent International can wake up, work out, eat, shop for groceries, get a haircut, see a doctor, and return to their unit without touching a single door that opens to the outside world. The logic behind this was not invented for this building. It was inherited from what the building was originally designed to be. Hotels exist on the principle of keeping guests inside, of making departure unnecessary by providing everything within the same walls. When that hotel logic was applied to residential housing at a scale of 30,000 people, it produced something that functionally replaces not just an apartment block, but an entire neighborhood's worth of daily infrastructure, compressed into one address and available to every floor. Western housing developers are behind by a decade on this model. Emergency questions have been raised in planning departments across Europe and North America as footage of Regent International spread across global media. The question being asked in those meetings is not whether buildings like this could be engineered. They clearly can be. The question is whether Western political systems would ever permit the conditions required to produce them. The rezoning required, the height limits that would need lifting, the community opposition that would need overruling. These are not engineering problems. They are political ones. And Western cities consistently, repeatedly choose not to solve them. The result? New York deliberates, London consults, Sydney forms review panels, and Hangzhou has 30,000 people already living inside the answer, with a waitlist forming behind them. But here's what most people are completely missing. Regent International is not a strange outlier. It is not one unusual developer making one unusual decision in isolation. It is the most visible, most dramatic product of the largest urbanization event in recorded human history. In 1949, less than 10% of China's population lived in cities. Today, that number exceeds 65%. In under 80 years, China relocated hundreds of millions of people from rural areas into urban centers at a pace and scale that has no historical precedent anywhere in the world. Cities like Hangzhou were not simply expanded during this period. They were rebuilt from scratch, repeatedly, absorbing successive waves of graduates, workers, and migrants arriving faster than conventional housing construction could keep pace with. In the last 45 years alone, China built enough housing to accommodate the entire population of the European Union. That is 450 million people worth of residential construction delivered in under half a century. By 2030, analysts project that over 70% of China's population will live in urban areas, meaning the pressure that produced Regent International is not slowing. It is accelerating. Hangzhou faced a specific version of that pressure. Alibaba's headquarters brought global investment. Major finance and tech employers followed. Housing demand grew faster than supply every single year. Prices outpaced salaries. The city became one of the most desirable places to build a career in all of China, while simultaneously becoming one of the most difficult places to afford to live. Something had to absorb that contradiction. Regent International absorbed it, and the buildings that follow this one will be larger. Here is the detail that reframes this entire building completely, and it is the detail that viral coverage almost never mentions. Regent International runs on shared heating systems, shared cooling infrastructure, shared water recycling, solar panels across its roof, rainwater harvesting, and greywater recycling systems engineered to meet China's highest green building certification standards. The energy consumed per resident inside this building is significantly lower than the equivalent population spread across individual homes in a low-density western suburb. The building the internet photographed and labeled an environmental dystopia is, measured per capita, among the most energy-efficient residential structures operating at this scale anywhere on Earth. Density, it turns out, is not the enemy of sustainability. It never was. Sprawl is. The residents choosing to make this building their home are mostly in their 20s and early 30s. Fresh graduates taking their first jobs at Hangzhou tech companies. Freelancers and content creators who need the center of the city but cannot justify paying triple the rent of a conventional apartment for less access to daily life. Some have built audiences of millions by documenting what life actually looks like inside these walls. These are not people enduring Regent International. They applied. They paid deposits, they waited on a list, and they chose it, because the alternative, the Western model of housing in a city with this level of economic weight, costs 3 times as much and delivers considerably less. Do you genuinely believe Western cities can solve their housing crises? Or have they already quietly decided that the real answer is too politically inconvenient to pursue? Drop your honest answer in the comments below. One building, one address, 30,000 people. A waitlist stretching behind it. Regent International began as a 6-star hotel that never opened to a single guest. It became the most self-contained residential structure on Earth. It went viral for looking dystopian, and it filled up, because it solved the one problem Western cities are still pretending they can fix with suburban zoning amendments and decade-long planning consultations. The buildings that follow this one will be larger. The cities that adopt this logic will be denser. The question of whether vertical, self-contained living makes human life more efficient or more isolated will not be answered by architects or urban theorists or government committees. It will be answered by the people who move in, stay for years, and decide, quietly, privately, whether it actually feels like home. If this changed how you see where cities are genuinely heading, subscribe now. Because what we cover next goes even deeper into the places and developments the Western conversation is not yet ready to have. Like this video. Share it with someone who still thinks the housing crisis has an easy answer. And tell me honestly, could you actually live here?